Hello. First of all, how many of you are a little tired right now? How many of you are thinking about switching your career soon? Okay, and my role here is not to try to either summarize the wonderful, wonderful and diverse sets of speakers that my colleagues at Learnovation have brought here. Rather, my goal is to try to leave you with some of your own questions. So could you pop up that one slide that I have? Yeah, the one slide. Okay. And I'm a one slide guy, okay? I've been in this field a long time. I am the youthful age of 75, okay? And every year when I get older, I drop the number of slides in my slideshow. So I'm down to one now, and hopefully not to zero soon. But I wanted to not so much summarize, because in many ways, we can't summarize our discussions today. We can't. In fact, if we try to say we could summarize, we're doing the very worst thing that we could do right now, living in a time of change. For me, what we have to accept and what we heard in so many different ways from so many people is how much the world is changing. Whether you like it, whether you hate it, whether you're shocked by it, whether you're in the middle of it, or whether you have to listen to your friends or your family talk about it continuously. But I want to make sure, and I'm going to say something, and I don't mean to offend any of my fellow speakers. AI is important, but it is not magic. It is not magic. If you leave here and say, I know the magic for my career, you are making the same mistake the people, and some of you are old enough, who said, oh my gosh, Y2K is coming. Y2K is coming. Now the reality is Y2K did come, but what Y2K in the end was about was not the collapse of business at that midnight. And I went to a Y2K party held on the first floor because the elevators of the world were going to stop. But what it really was, it was part of the digitalization of our world and preparing for that digitalization. But you've heard a lot of things. I will tell you, I'm not going to spend an awful lot of time at the drinks afterwards, because I've actually been in two conferences at the same time. I'm honored to be here because I am a visiting research fellow at Trinity and Learnovate, also working in some other areas. But at the same time, I'm involved in Impact Ireland, which is a venture fund that's bringing some folks here. Now, my wife and I are business partners for 30 years, so we split which ones we went to. She had the good news of listening today to the two speakers there, which are The Edge and Adam Clayton from U2, okay? They are on the board of that. And I'm leaving here to go, and we have a photo opportunity with your Taoiseach. So normally you've seen me wearing orange. I was told not to wear an orange shirt or an orange jacket. So I'm wearing, you notice, I found a green shirt in the middle of the thing. But when we talk about change, I want to make sure that your conversation about AI, and it's very important, does not overwhelm how much the rest of the world is also changing. The economics of the world. Brenda talked about, what generations are about, what's happening with aging and young, and all of the other elements. What trade is happening. I'm very excited to be a resident here in Ireland, although I have an American and a German passport, but there's this thing called tariffs and all of that stuff that's going on. The level of change is not just AI. It is one of the components of that. But do not walk there, because I will tell you, the thing I'm most worried about on this thing is AI hallucinations. And AI hallucinations is not just what AI might do, but what somebody would do sitting here and saying, I totally understand AI. I bought the book on AI. I was asked by 3 publishers to write a book on AI and learning, and I say, how long would it take you to publish it? It'll be out in 9 months. I said, it won't be good anymore. Because except that we are at a time where what we need to do is not to just adopt a model, but that we in the learning field, in the business field, we need to become experimenters and explorers. We need to try things a couple different ways, the A and the B way, and which means we might say, well, let's try to see if we could develop some content with Gen AI, and at the same time, let's take 3 instructional designers to do it in a collaborative way, not. Let's give that same thing to 10 different people in our organization, and let's see a year later how many of those people are successful and who left. Meaning, I would challenge you to leave here from this wonderful, wonderful conference as an experimenter, as an explorer, to listen as you did from people from organizations, whether they are suppliers or whether they are employers, to think about the differences of how we're going to do it. I'm looking forward in future years in Learnovate to have people up here and say, this worked, this failed. This was successful, we tried that, it's not enough. And our last speakers talked about, and it's really interesting, how do we blend the best of AI with human intelligence? Now, I will give you a phrase that I didn't hear, but I want you to think about. And I know in talking to my colleagues, when we think of AI or other technology like facial recognition, robotics, and the like, think of the word optimize. Optimize. How do we optimize the output of the organization? How do we optimize that business process? How do we optimize, as you said, the sense of worth of that employee? How do we optimize the employment base of that organization? Because at the end of the day, it's not cool to implement AI. It's cool to do something that in a positive way optimizes it within the culture that we want. Within the culture that we want. I get scared right now that a lot of the major AI organizations that are out there creating it are the tech bros in the United States. Okay, and I say that they reflect one culture. I was recently in Sweden. I was really excited that there were some tech people who were there from Singapore. And I said, I'm excited to see AI that's going to come out of Ireland and Sweden and Singapore and different cultures. I don't want it done by 5 men who own big companies and are billionaires in that sense. I want it done by people who reflect the culture that you want to be in. And when we talk about that, I will say that, and it was wonderful, and I am so excited about thinking about next gen and the like. It's a very important piece of the puzzle. I'm 75. I'm 75. Do you know in the year 2000, how many people over 65 were in Ireland? 500,000. How many people by the year 2030 will be over 65? 1 million people. How long are they likely to live? To 85, to 90. Are we prepared for what a generational conversation of not only the youngest population, which we have to look at, but people who are going to be around for a very long time? What does work look like for that 75 or that 85-year-old? What does healthcare look like? And I was excited when our doctor talked about what's healthcare going to look like, because if lifespan is longer than the health span in that process. And I get excited once again. How do we optimize it with technology and with skills and the like? And one of the things that's going to be important is, can we blow up a few of our learning myths? I'll give you a learning myth. Learning happens in one shot. How many of you have children or know people who have children? Okay? How long was the PowerPoint in which you taught them how to control going to the bathroom? Didn't you just show it to them for 45 minutes and they were done? That's not how you learn how to go to the bathroom. And by the way, that's not how you learn how to do any of the jobs in your organization. Learning is not one shot. Learning is a process, an iterative process and the like. And that's the most exciting thing about what we in the learning field can do with our friends in business, is to mix what's digital, what's collaborative, what's experimental. How do we try things safely and fail our way to success? I watched Brenda's niece take the leaving certificate, and she was studying. Oh my gosh, I've never seen somebody do it. So I decided I would affiliate with her. So once it was published, I took the Learn English 2 exam. I got like 40% of it right. But I loved taking it and failing because it gave me an appreciation of the rigor of the study and the like that was going to be there. We need to look at standards. It was really exciting to see the conversation about European organizations, but let me go one step farther. I hate to say it, most learning doesn't come from the learning department. Think about how each of you learned to do your job. Did you learn to do your job in L&D by going to a course in L&D done by L&D? How many of you maybe learned by watching some really good people around you do it? How many of you learned by watching some people do it really poorly and deciding to do it differently than those folks? It is a process. And we're going to need to think about, when we think about standards, content's going to come from everywhere, not just L&D, but everywhere. So what I want to have you do as you leave here is think about not only the content that you heard. It was wonderful. Please, and I know you'll be putting the slides on. It's wonderful. Watch it again, because by the time you get to me, you're worn out. I understand it. But go back to it. It's important enough to go back to it. Reread the slides. Think about it. And I want you, when you do, to start to ask an interesting question. What do I do about it? What do I do about all of the changes, AI and plus? I will tell you the number one thing you can do. Stay connected to other learning and HR colleagues from other organizations and have good and brave conversations with them. Find a mentor who's under the age of 20. Think about what it will be for your grandparents in that process, and think about how do we solve a problem for all generations. I'm hoping the next time I come to Learnovate, I see some more people here who are in the learning field who are under the age of 25. And I really hope that I see some more people, not just me, who are at the other end of their career, and that learning become multi-generational. The final thing I want to ask you to think about, and to me it's the heart of what makes learning, curiosity. We learn when we're curious. Have you ever gone to a course that you totally are not interested in the least bit in going to? Please report to room 5 at 2 o'clock. There'll be a 2-hour lecture. And you go there and you shut off. When you're curious, as many of our people have said today, when you're curious, you learn. And you challenge the learner. And I really encourage you, read every dimension of these changes, but be prepared to challenge it. Why am I in Ireland? Well, one of the major reasons that I've decided to base in Ireland this time is, first of all, to work with colleagues like you, to volunteer at Trinity and with Learnovate. But I'm excited that Ireland is an amazing pivot point for what the growth of the world will be. There is industry, there is innovation, there is education, and there is a multiculturalism that will occur with Ireland in that sense. If nothing else, think about how many Irish people aren't in Ireland that are part of that diaspora community that's there. It is an exciting time to be here. It's an exciting time to be in this field. Whether we always call it learning and development is irrelevant. It is irrelevant. What's really important is you think about that your job is to deal with changes, to optimize your own work, to optimize your organization's work, and please ultimately think about how learning has to support the culture of our companies and our organizations, of diversity, of development, of caring, of honesty, of willingness to look at all of the dimensions that make something successful. It is an honor to be with you, and I want to tell you, please be grateful, not so much to the people who did this conference, be grateful that you work for an employer who thinks that your learning is important and has you come here. Thank you very much for what you do, and it's been an absolute honor. I look forward to collaborating with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliott, for those energizing thoughts, definitely. Thank you all. It's my job to wrap us up today. So thank you all to all our speakers, our panelists, and of course to you, our audience, for being part of this journey and the conversation today. This officially concludes our corporate learning reskill track here at Learnovation 2025, but the conversation does not end here. Please join us up in the atrium for the drinks reception. My favorite part of the day, certainly. So enjoy the evening. I look forward to chatting to you up there. Thank you again for being part of Learnovation 2025.